Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Live. First live in a while. Let's see here. I lost my message board here. But let's see how this goes. Oh, here's my window. Oh. Looking around. Oh, let's just go with this. Okay, so I did this 8 by 10 scene recently using a lot of different types of inks, and I wanted to see what this would look like if we kind of expand on the kind of idea of it, going a little bit longer here, well, quite a bit longer, double the size here, in a 10 by 16. So, or no, wait. What is this right here? 8.5 by, what size is this right here? This was, okay, so 16 by 10. Okay, so it's 11 by 17, and I cut it down 1 inch both ways. So we're going with a pretty big piece of paper. Hello, Bugs, and oh, hello, Art Foamies. Speaking of Art Foamies, we're going to try the Art Foamies application here on a very large piece. It could be cringy, though, because I'm going to try some different types of combinations here. But here's the large Lakeside Cove just done on a piece of semi-gloss cardstock using a bunch of dye-based inks from my old college days here in the Luma dyes, and I also busted out some of the pearlescent inks on this piece right here and just totally, I don't know, made this kind of menagerie of blues in the background there that I think came out okay. And I just mounted it up, and I thought, okay, this mounting of this piece I thought looked okay, so I would try it again. One of the things about this cardstock and getting it so wet is that it was so rippled, but I just used some 3M Super 77 on it to mount it to this white piece right here, and then from there mounted it on a matte black because this is on semi-gloss. I'm just going with kind of more of a matte type of finish right here, so I don't know, highly textured and enjoying the Art Foamies KP. So I was going to try that, and going to try this Moonlight Duo background for some background trees in here and try to push the depth on this kind of idea a little bit more. This was just kind of an experiment here using some of those old inks. So oh my gosh, I haven't used like paint brushes and such in so long. It was just kind of like a, I don't know, like a foreign type of object using it the way I was using it here. But oh, I don't know. I would say I'm getting back into it, but I was never good at like brushwork and painting classes and watercolors. I do love the look though, but I don't know. Like I was saying in my last video, I was never terribly good at that type of medium. I was more of a, hard media type of person and detail oriented with like pen and ink work, but always love the look of the more fluid types of movements that can be achieved using brushwork and watercolors and you know, those types of things there. So we'll see how I do here. So I don't know. For me, using these types of different media here, I don't know. I figured if it looks really bad, I'm just going to make it darker and darker and darker. So that it would obscure kind of the weaknesses. And that's one of those things. You can make things lighter, with white pigment ink, which I do all the time. Or, in theory, you just make things darker so that, it kind of masks over the, you just kind of decrease the contrast between things. And hopefully that kind of remedies, I don't know, kind of the weaker points. But I thought I wanted to try more of these pearlescent inks here as well. Okay, so these are permanent inks, okay? They're used more for dip pens and things like that. Maybe some calligraphers use them, but I bought them a few years back um, with the thoughts of adding these as little types of embellishments into scenes like lake scenes or something like that and getting some shimmer onto kind of water surfaces and whatnot. Hello, Jeannie, Linda. Good to see you. So anyway, I like the way these things looked in here. Okay, so they're kind of obscure, but you know, you can see my brushwork a little bit with these these pearlescent inks. I don't know if you can see them here, but I can see them in person. There's like strokes down here. The contrast between this pearlescent ink, and I'm assuming they're also transparent. You know, you can't really see it, but you do see a little of that brushwork in here, and a little bit more of a spirited kind of gestural type of application. Maybe it's better that it's kind of obscure because it's not really, you know, well done gestural types of applications, but they're in there. All right, so let's see here. All right, so I'm going to start off with these dye-based inks as kind of like a general wash in the background here. Maybe I'll go with something a little bit, maybe I'll go more horizontally and have this more of like a, I don't know, sky type of atmosphere rather than kind of deep space like I did the last one. The last one I was thinking more along the lines of kind of a Northern Lights type of kind of structuring up here with the curtains. I didn't really get that because I had to go over it so much, and then I just ended up squirting it down a couple times to get that kind of that water reactive kind of textural separation going because it would obscure my kind of brushwork, my feeble brushwork on there. So it just kind of got darker and darker. But maybe I'll go with that on this one right here. So bear with me. I do not do this, folks. But we'll see how it goes and see if it becomes a little bit more of a kind of a regular thing here, or at least kind of worked into somewhat of a, you know, I don't know, a general repertoire that I do periodically here. All right, so I'm just going to go like back and forth on this. If anyone's like a watercolorist or something like that, you know, this would be really cringy for them to see, but we're doing our own thing here, so we're not doing watercolors. As I was saying in my previous video, some of my favorite pieces are field studies in watercolors. I really love that look, real gestural types of things. Field studies, even more than really kind of like finished, you know, I don't know, kind of layered pieces, you know. I like them more spontaneous in general. And maybe that's because it's kind of contrasting against, you know, a lot of the things that I'm doing a lot of times, which are more of those tighter, detailed types of applications with media. So I don't know. You kind of like what you know you can't do. All right, so adding this in. One of the things I'm not used to either, which kind of drives me nuts while I'm doing this, is just kind of this curling and everything like that. I know I can mount this down, you know, like we used to do with, you know, different types of papers, you know, when we were doing painting, you know, when you're tacking down some watercolor papers or something like that. But I don't feel like doing that. You know, taping it down on a board. Now, if I do this enough time, I'll get, you know, I'll have some board and I'll do that kind of, you know, maybe on a regular basis. So maybe instead of kind of trimming off the sides like that, that would be the sides that I would be trimming off is just the tape, you know, that I lay down on there, you know, some painter's tape or something like that. Or I don't know, sometimes it looks good to have that. You tear off that, you know, that painter's tape or something like that, and you have that little bit of a border around it. You know, sometimes that looks good in itself, you know, to kind of add to the aesthetics. But hello, Linda D. This is glossy matte is way shinier than my glossy matte. I don't know. Is this glossy? I don't have any kind of gloss at all to this. See? It's semi-gloss. Is that what you're referring to as glossy matte, Linda? Linda B? But they are a little bit different. I don't know. This one's a semi-gloss though. I don't find too much sheen to it. Maybe when I'm applying the ink, and it's wet like that, but I don't know. This is pretty matte. I would probably be able to tell the difference between matte and this though if I held it up side by side. There's a little bit of a sheen to it, or maybe that what they call satin type of look. All right, so just getting some of this down. Like I said, it, I'm kind of trying to keep in mind the general location where I'm going to stamp, kind of that main imagery. So I want to keep that a little bit darker maybe. And we'll see if I learned anything from that previous piece too, in terms of kind of the layering progression, maybe we can say. Because like I said, I want to splash into this and get a lot of texturing done on here. I was gonna do this in vertical, I'm in a horizontal landscape, but I wanted to go for more sky and kind of potential depth. And here's the thing, too. It's like I am not set up for this on my table. I just don't have any space to kind of move around to keep this a little bit more gestural, but we'll see what we can do here. All right, so this is going to be roughly the horizon in here. I'm thinking about keeping that a little bit lighter. What that ends up kind of looking like, I don't know. This is like none of the things that I'm doing right now. I mean, it'll probably end up being, but it's kind of more of a base coat than anything. That's my thought here, at least. When I was thinking about some of the different types of applications I was doing in movement with my brush, it's almost like paralyzing because it's like, you haven't done this in like 30 years or something like that. So I just think of this as like a base coat. It's going to get covered up with a bunch of other things. So it's like, I'm not worried about it at all. I don't know. Maybe a little bit, but it's like 3%. All right. So, okay. Now I want this a lot darker too. So, we have plenty of time to kind of build this up. All right, so I'm using these Luma dyes here, and Luma dyes are just like dye-based inks, okay? They're just not in pad form. There's Dr. Martin's dyes. There's a lot of different inks out there on the market that are kind of more, they're art market focused. They never kind of penetrated and made some sort of crafting market type of application for, paper crafters and such, but a lot of the long established types of colors out there were, companies like Luma. I don't think they're around anymore, but Dr. Martens, all those kind of, I don't know, kind of established types of ink makers. Those types of inks are out there. And again, they're just kind of dyes, but they're just in a bottle form. And this is one of those things why I'm always telling people too these days. In fact, I was just telling someone the other day, that has a bunch of inks and everything like that. And they wanted to start doing some things and kind of, they wanted to go for some of the, they want some of the results that they see in the videos. And I was just telling them, but they don't want to buy a bunch more inks. They already have several different lines, maybe the entire color ranges of many different lines. But I was just telling them, one of the things is that you can just, if you want to add to what you already have or kick things up, is just to get the re-inkers, for their inks out there. They can get it in the crafting market or whatever. They can get Dr. Martens. They can go to the art store and buy these types of inks too. I don't know how much these things would run these days. But Okay, so in 1991, was that when the year? This was $1.80 right here. I don't know. They're probably double the price, those types of inks these days, if not more. Maybe they would be 450 now or something like that. But if you're not getting kind of the saturation or something like that from certain types of art market, crafting market inks, then look to the art market for the same types of things, but you just supplement with, a, you know, whatever, a different type, a different brand, or a different target audience, those types of media out there. I would normally do that too, but most of the times, because I'm doing these videos, I want to work in the media that most people have, but I don't know. The more times certain companies or whatnot start disappearing in the crafting market, I don't know. It's made me think about using other types of things in the art market. Um, because there has been consolidation and whatnot, and people buying out everyone else. I don't know. It's like, okay, so suddenly, I don't know, whatever, Prismacolors is, being made by whatever now, and um, I don't know. There's different manufacturers out there. It seems like they change hands, but it seems like the lines still kind of remain and are still in, production. All right, so that is that. Let's go on with some of the pearlescent. Okay, these are acrylics now. Okay, so we're moving away from dyes, and I'm going into the acrylics now. I don't know, maybe I want to do some of that spraying on here now, but I'm not sure. One of the things I need to do too is that I'm not used to like always cleaning up all my brushes right after, but I need to remember to do that when working with things like acrylics on my brushes. I was a little bit late and it kind of stained my brush here. Not that it's any big deal, but I need to remember to do that with this art media. Okay, so this is the pearlescent acrylic here. We'll just go for these kind of vertical or horizontal striations in here. So KP, you have me working on working with my old stuff, my old supplies, dipping in. I was telling people about that black gesso impressions, I thought, oh my God, am I going to start applying gesso? You know, I have a lot of my supplies. I don't think I have, I would have, gesso would have dried up a long time ago, and I don't think I ever used black gesso back then either. I don't know if black gesso was even out there. It might have been. I never used it though. But I thought, oh my gosh, different media, um, old media too in some cases. Like I said, it's kind of opened me up to using some of the things that I've had in my supplies for a long time, but just haven't gotten around to using, or just I haven't had an application for it in so long. So that's good, I guess. It's fun to dip back into this type of thing here and to kind of play around with it a little bit, or to experiment with it in some cases for the first time. All right, so this is that really pearlescent reflective type of ink right here. I kind of like it on here. I'm hoping that I didn't make it, I'm not applying it so much here. Like I said, I probably should have sprayed this first to get that kind of more textural kind of feel down there first before doing this, but I don't know. Well, okay, so let's do this. I did it on the top half right here. I think that's going to be the top half. I guess it doesn't matter because I kind of hit this kind of more towards the center right here, but let's hit this a little bit. Not that Eric Carle did this type of thing, but I always like those types of real kind of swatchy, kind of, painterly types of applications that he did in those children's books. So I want to go for some kind of bolder things, and I find that, I don't know, kind of working in a larger format affords me that type of thing where a gigantic, quarter size splash on a, you know, 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. That's it's going to look kind of weird on something like that, but I don't know. Maybe it has to do with percentages or something like that of overall space. You get these big, huge, blotchy types of things, and it's like on something like practically 11 by 17, tabloid size, and it just I don't know. It blends in a little bit better, maybe. Okay. Oh, okay. $7 or $8 now. Are you kidding me for that same ink? Wow. I was getting a lot of these types of dyes right here, and most of them are, I don't know. I don't think I've even used a third of a bottle on this, probably 25%, so since 1991. So I have used one of those inks in, or some of these inks in a video before. I tried it out, like on glossy cardstock, just to kind of play around with it. But I don't know. I think those, just a little card size piece. I'm waiting for this to kind of bleach out a little bit while I'm blabbing here, but it was just too small. I needed to do something bigger, and maybe, I don't know, probably a matte piece of paper or something like that. If not even like a watercolor paper would probably be, better suited for that. Let me get some of this off of this brush here. I'm putting this over the top just because I'm getting mist all over the place here, but I want to get this pearlescent out of here. Boy, that sure does look pearlescent right there, whatever's in there. Anyone know what's in these pearlescent inks to give it that pearlescent type of look? I know in those inks, what were they called? Radiant Pearls? Wasn't that mica in it? I wonder if that's what it is. 3 bottles of Dr. Martens White lasts me 6 months. Jeannie, you go through Dr. Martens. At least as far as stampers go, I think you would have to go through more of that than any stamper around. I think your pieces are half, I've said this before, they're half painting. In addition to traditional stamping techniques and whatnot. Yeah, I am enjoying the larger format. The thing about the larger format with the foamies, as I was mentioning, from my initial types of usages of it, I think about the format going into it, but as soon as I stamp something out, it's like I'm not really thinking about the size of the paper anymore, because it seems like, because the pieces are just so much bigger, that these larger pieces, I mean, they're not taking me any more time than it does to do like a quarter page card. Like this, I don't know, this thing, I don't know, it could have been like a half an hour, and that's me not knowing what I was doing at all. Just like this one, All right. I'm mopping up some of this just to get some of this moisture off. Okay, so we got a lot of that bleachy type of look down here, that kind of water reactive type of thing. Up top, it's a lot less because, well, I don't know. That did get through there to some extent pretty well. Less so than down below, of course. That wasn't coated, but let's see if you can see that type of look up there. And I sprayed a little bit less up here too, so yeah. And down here, it's rather extreme. Okay, so this piece is a little bit darker too than what you're looking at. Actually, let me change the exposure of my camera a little bit. Let me see. Maybe I should turn it way down, because that makes me look a lot better like that. That makes the piece look better. Okay, so this is like neutral right there. So that's about one of the things about. I don't know. I'm finding my camera is not, at least on screen, the blues are a little bit different. Okay, so see that kind of depth in there? That's what I'm kind of going for. But I want it even deeper than that, so we'll see how that goes there. I do need a water bucket. When's the last time I ever said that in stamping? Never, you know? Okay, so let's see right here. Oh yeah. Why did I clean this off? I still have this bottom portion to do. See, that's what that's what the thing is. It's kind of it's it's my methodology in terms of sequencing is kind of messed up because I haven't used these types of things, either in a long time or like ever. Or maybe, definitely the combination of things is different too. Okay, so I'm going over this, and naturally I'm going to be, painting into some of that color down there that got bleached out. So you'll get a little bit of this tone right here. This is a blue right here. This is what this looks like right here, but I'm painting it over colors that are probably already a little bit darker than that. So the only thing that's really visible to me, and because this isn't like a warm blue or going for real like a temperature change or something like that, I don't really see too much difference actually over there. Okay, that's because there's so much glare on there. I thought, okay, just as I'm saying that, it looks pretty different on that other side. At least down in this portion right here. That's just a lot of glare on there, but it looks like that. All right. Yeah, but these larger formats, like what I was saying, I don't really think about the size after I stamp the imagery, which is a good thing. I'm not even aware, I don't know. I'm aware of it, but it's like a zero consideration, I think. In terms of anything different, in terms of the process or feel of it, where I thought it would be. It seems like when I'm doing things with just traditional stamps at the scale that we have them at, I am thinking about that just because it takes more to fill in. But I don't know. Maybe everything has to do with like kind of working in ratios or something like that. Those redwood types of tree scenarios that I was doing. I don't know. It's not really the only. I guess the only consideration is when I'm flipping this thing around and having my workspace. The workspace is a consideration still, but as far as the application of things go and the considerations, shadow and adding shadow and highlighting and all that type of thing, I don't know. It's like a very little difference. If anything, the larger formats, tolerate more. I don't know. It's more tolerant to I don't know, whatever application weakness, on the user's part, mine, because it's just so much bigger. Any little thing on a smaller card just shows up. It's magnified because of the scale of it, and in proportion to what we're working on. Maybe. Hello, Crimson Rose. Okay. Oh, yeah. Bye, KP. Thanks for joining in. All right, let's see here. We'll see what's going to stamp on here, too. I'm going to stamp over the top of this, of course. I need to get this thing out of the way. That's the thing. I'm always like having to get things out of the way when working on these larger pieces like this. All right, so here's a... Look at this. This is all like crusted in. So when I say I haven't been using these paints, inks in a while. There's like hard evidence of that here. All right, so this is white pearl. Let's give this a try here. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. I'm dipping into this. I shouldn't use the same brush, but oh, here, let me do this right here. I'm gonna pour some of that out on that palette. I didn't even know what these paints were here. I was thinking it was pearlescent inks, but they're paint. So I didn't wash out this section right here. Now that's like permanently pearlescent blue acrylic paint in that area right there. Hello, Cecil. Good to see you. You're streaming it on your TV. That's cool. This piece right here might be better if you stream it though, like on your phone. I'm saying that because I don't know what I'm doing on this piece right here. But it is somewhat fun, I would have to say. Okay, this is white right here, okay. This is going to be more of my horizon. Okay, now, okay, that stood out a little bit. But I find that as it dries on here, or as I apply it down like this, it seems to get a little bit less, I don't know, whatever, opaque. I guess that makes sense because this is a little bit more translucent, and the thinner the application, the more see-through it gets and less visible here. Okay. It's really weird for me working on this piece right here now because it's now the dominant kind of surface on here now is now this pearlescent acrylic paint. So it's kind of, it's sealed up basically. I'm not working on a semi-gloss cardstock anymore. I'm working on this I don't know, kind of this sealed, kind of waxy type of surface right now. All right, now as I'm doing that, one of the things that's occurring to me is that I think I need a cup of water here. All right, that'll keep that brush nice and wet for a while. I think I'm done with this brush here. I had to move it like far enough away so I don't just like turn around. I'm putting it on the floor and just like kick it. But here, these paper towels, I think this will give me a pretty decent kind of smoother application. Let me see if I can get into it a little bit more and kind of spread it around. Now I want my little brush strokes to still be in there. Okay, they're pretty well set. I was going to say if some of these are a little bit wet, I can kind of manipulate them and move them around a little bit. But that's kind of the surface that we're talking about right there. I had to move my camera. Camera on my tripod is up as like high as it can go right now. Just to get in this piece right here, but okay, so this is what I have on my surface right now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and add kind of more of that stronger vignette. I thought that really helped with this piece right here, adding in that black all around the perimeter. Now I've gone in a lot more with the pearlescent on this one than I did on the last one, because I like that look of it. Let's see here. Let me try something here with that. Where did that? I just lost where'd my white pearlescent? Oh, okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna try something here with this. I'm gonna do this right here, just go like this. And take a look and see what that kind of application would look like here. I want to get some of this down in my water as well, so okay, that actually works really well. Unless you want those brush strokes. So that's getting that kind of pearlescent kind of streaking kind of going on down there. I don't know if you can see it right there. See, it's all across right here. That's what it looks like right there. So it's only kind of, it's when it's kind of in that, you know, catching that light right there, that shows up. I don't know, you can get these kind of like silvery looking cloud, you know, clouds in here. Or I don't know, maybe not clouds, but little striations in your sky like that. It might be kind of interesting. If I was gutsy, I would go for some kind of more, I don't know, like impasto types of applications where you get this kind of thicker type of application in there, you know, in a couple of these areas. I got it a little bit right there, just, you know, having a little bit of a thicker application of it like that by squeezing it out a little bit. But I don't know, as I get more familiar with that, maybe I'll do more of that type of motion sometime in the future. All right, so, all right, now I can't remember. I think I was doing, okay, so I was using my VersaFine and Memories Black. I can't remember which one of these was working better. I think I used both. Maybe they worked a little bit different. So Memories Black, dye-based ink. VersaFine Black, oil-based pigment ink, okay? So let's see what applies and sticks on this better. Maybe both of them or something like that. All right, so, all right. Now, this, to me, it's getting really rippled, okay? But I'm just going to mount this on something else and brayer it down so it's not going to be this, like, really super kind of, you know, rippled surface. So you can see how rippled it is, maybe on the back like that. Okay, but that flattens out pretty well, but needless to say, I'm not using my crafter's tape to mount, you know, with something this size, even like this size right here. This was mounted on here using the 3M, you know, spray adhesive. You know, it's way better at that size with how rippled, you know, these surfaces can get if you're doing something like this type of application here. All right, so let's see how this one goes here. The Memories Black. I've never re-inked this. This pad's probably 20 years old, I'm guessing. Okay, but see, that goes on pretty well right there, like that. I'll test it out. I'll use both that and maybe the VersaFine. I don't want to use my VersaFine Claire on this one, because that's fairly new for me, relatively speaking. You know, considering, you know, some of these pads are, like I said, you know, like 20 years old. Like this right here, as I'm testing it right here, it's a new pad, but I just haven't used it. But I see this, you know, it's kind of delaminating. I don't know if you see that right there. See that? This pad is like coming off from this surface right here. Just to give you an idea of probably how old it is. It works good for this one, though. I knew someone that their favorite black ink was Memories Black, and it was always one of my favorites to do those finishing touches, like adding in those foreground images in a really thick, deep black ink. This is before I was using something like the like StazOn or Claire's or something like. Well, actually, the Claire's I wouldn't have been using that on glossy cardstock, but this right here, if I used it for my first impressions and started cleaning over it, it would never dry, you know, for me, you know, to color over, unless I waited like for days or something like that, or heat set. I usually don't like heat setting my initial impressions if I don't have to. It just takes more time. But I knew someone in Arizona that was doing it, and I always mention this. You know, with all media kind of surface combinations, I understood why that was his favorite black to use. It's super black, and he liked it over Marvy too. And it's because it dries out there like 4 times faster, you know? It's not even, like I was saying, it's not like double the drying time. It's like 4 times, you know, out there in kind of more of a much more arid, you know, kind of environment. So, but You know, so I didn't use it too much, you know, because like I said, it was, you know, kind of for my foreground imagery. This might have been brand new too. I might have just opened it up fairly. I think maybe I did a video on that one, opening up like a 20-year-old pad or something like that video. That sounds familiar. But thank you, Linda. Mineral spirits. I don't know. Will mineral spirits, will that, you know, clean up a water-based acrylic off of that? Huh. Will you be adding Brilliance White clouds? I don't think so on this one. You could. Like if I did it, I would do that kind of paper towel type of technique on here. Could though, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I might want to keep this one kind of more of a, oh, kind of more painterly looking. Look at that right there. That would be a good like you know, foundation for some like underwater scenario too, wouldn't it? See this? See this is right here. See how light it looks like that? It's not. It's like that. Well, I guess it is like that if you know, with a kind of the light shimmering across there like that. One of the things that I thought looked pretty good too is I did spray seal this with you know, the Krylon Crystal Clear. I didn't give it super thick, you know, of a coating on there, but the colors were a lot more vibrant after I spray sealed. Okay, so it did bring out some tones, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that was because I did use that Marby blue over the top of it too. Huh. All right, so adding this in, let's see. Doing something this size right here, it's like, I feel like I'm, I don't know, it feels like I'm working on a piece of canvas or something like that on this piece this big. And plus it's also kind of rippled now and textured, you know, with all this like media on there. I mean, for the most part, it's fairly dried. I guess the pulp has to be somewhat moist still with all that moisture that was applied to it. I guess that's one of those things about working on this kind of clay surface. It did absorb it quite a bit. But yeah, there's a, I don't know, there's a different feel to this, you know, when you have all that media on there and maybe it's so big. It's like a, I don't know, it doesn't feel like regular paper. One of the things you can do too, I mean, if you wanted to go, you know, it'd be kind of interesting to do like this background right here. And before you put on some, you know, kind of a vignette on here, if you're doing something like this, you could do like these large pieces like this, and then you can cut them down for smaller types of pieces. You can get two, you know, 8.5 by 11s out of it, or, you know, 4 pieces like this and have like 4 different sky scenarios or something like that. It would be a lot easier doing it on one big piece of paper like that, you know, than doing a bunch of, you know, separate ones. They might come out a little bit more graceful too, just because of the, you know, the longer movements you can apply to it rather than kind of working on something this size and, you know, applying it like that, which we do, you know. But if you're kind of mass producing, let's say you're doing like a Christmas card or something like that, and it's going to have a lot of blues in the background or something like that, I would do one of these pieces, I think, and get 8 pieces out of it, and then you stamp your pieces over it and whatever, do your, you know, other types of applications like that. It seems like it would save a lot of time and potentially come out, I don't know, maybe even better. All right, so this is applying pretty well over the top of that acrylic ink, you know, usually going with like a, you know, a dye-based ink over an acrylic like that. That might not work very well. You know, because dyes work by staining the paper, and if we've kind of sealed off the paper from other media on top, you know, we don't know how that's going to affect the application or the transfer of those different types of inks, but it seems to be working just fine. Maybe because it's not so sealed off. Maybe I didn't put lay down like a super thick amount of the acrylic on there, the pearl acrylic. Now, okay, so right here, when I go into here, this one feels a little bit different as I'm going over here because I not only have the blue underneath there, but a lot of the white there. So it feels real slippery, but it is, it's applying there just fine, though, it seems. Okay, I totally like crimped that area right there, but I don't know. I don't think that should show up when I get some imagery over the top of it. All right, so I knew which way would be up and which way would be down, but now I'm not quite so sure. I think that would be the bottom portion because I want that kind of watery, splashy look, I think, down in that lower portion like that. Okay, so that's just the general kind of vignette around the perimeter like that. And I think what we can do now is I'll get my impression down there. And after I have kind of after I can see where the imagery is, I can go in and further kind of lay down my shadow work and whatnot in there. And then also I wanted to get some background trees in there and see if it would even show up over this, or if I could even apply it over the top of this. I wouldn't think there'd be a problem if we can make that first impression on here, using a certain type of ink. I mean, getting those background trees in color, I don't know. That's the thing that I'm not so sure about, but I don't know, we'll see here. But anyways, yeah, really reflective with that pearlescent in there. So, okay, so applications with something like this too. If we're just doing like, dye-based ink cards, standard cards or something like this, I think something like this is what my general thought was with things like these types of colors right here, is that, we can take like a smaller paintbrush or something like this, and the way that we would, we might add stickles or something like that in some water textures, like I said, like on a smaller card, or this one's not small, but it's just going in with something like this. My ideas with that was just to kind of lay down some streaks in like water or something like that, using something like this or this, where you wouldn't be able to see it, but it would kind of, at certain angles, I think it would reflect some of that light. So that was my concept with this. I've just used, I've used it in a big, thick slathering on this one right here. But I don't know. I forget about these things a lot, so I don't, I probably should try them out, a lot more and experiment around with them a little bit. Okay, so there's my little horizon. That's why I made that a little bit lighter on there. So I'd see the silhouette of these trees stand out a little bit light. They would stand out right there too, but this is a little bit lighter right here against that kind of horizon line there. Hello, Rhonda. Let's see. Do you think Pearl X would work with what you were doing? Pearl X, I forgot what Pearl X was. Were those inks? Oh, Lindo's working on a Christmas map. That's awesome. Like I said before, I'd want to do that. I love doing those maps. And people don't know what we're talking about. We did these like large format, like 11 by 17 types of pieces, but kind of more in the spirit of like an amusement park, those kind of, those maps that they have, you are here type of thing. And the spirit of them is that they're kind of loaded with information, imagery, people, creatures, and stuff like that. We did it first with the Halloween piece, and we were saying that, for the different holidays, it would be kind of cool to, to do that into a scenic scenario. So I can't wait to see that, Linda. Some of them are really large, Virginia. We didn't, we were kind of talking about the concept of, they wanted to make some foam stamps, nature stamps for a while. They were asking me. And I said, well, one of the things about the foams versions of them, okay, so we can take something like this, and because it's pliable and malleable, you know what I mean? They bend and contour. You can get probably better impressions, well, definitely, better impressions with a foam stamp than a rubber stamp on like textured surfaces, okay? Because it can mold into the spots better than a rubber stamp can, which is a little bit more firm, okay? But one of the things about that, going with foam too, is that you can go kind of larger like this. When you start getting to a rubber stamp this size, and I have the lakeside, the Seaside Cove, which is really big, but it gets harder and harder to make a really good impression with rubber stamps. Okay, so we're saying, okay, so there's no point in just doing a foam version of the Lakeside Cove like at this size, you know what I mean? Because the rubber, the way this is manufactured, and etching, molds, vulcanizing, you can get so much more detail. So if we're going to do something in foam versions, we might as well go larger. This almost looks like clouds out there with that reflection on there, like that. This is the way it looks like that. Looks better with the lighting hitting it like that. Look at that, it looks like clouds up there, doesn't it? It's that white, or it's those little ripples in the surface like that. Huh. Okay, I'm tempted to go for a second impression of this because it occurred to me that I think there's a lot of ink still in this, but I don't want to do that at this point in time. I'll experiment with that on a later date, not on this piece that I've been working on. I don't want to stamp this down and get, have it like 50%, lighter or something like that. Okay, but some of these are quite a bit larger and some of them aren't. But I do love these larger sizes like this. There's a different spirit, I think, working kind of large too. I wouldn't say it's, better or anything like that. I'm kind of more of a detail-oriented person. And I like the fine details that my stamps have in rubber formats and smaller sizes. So a lot of times if I'm making a second size of a stamp, it's not larger, it's always the smaller version of it because, we want to retain detail and whatnot. But, this is a different feel right here. You can get, I don't know, I don't know if I'm getting that in a quarter page card, Like I said, if I was to do this on a quarter page card, now that I'm doing this right here, God, look at that that looks like a nice, like real horizon in there. All right. So maybe you should not know what you're doing and that comes out better that way. Like, I don't know, I'm saying that me, Okay, but yeah, going large like that, it's, I don't know, it's like these pieces like this, now that I'm, have this stamped out like this, I mean, it's, in terms of space on my desk, it feels different, but the considerations as far as like how to finish this off and things like that, it's not too much different than working on a smaller format, standard size card, I would say. All right, so that was the impression there. I'm going to wait for this to dry a little bit to go back in there and add in some additional tone. I really wanted to add in some background trees, but I just do not want to cover that up. I think that's like the best part of this scene right now. Like that. Okay, so here's this kind of, this pearlescent ink on here, kind of reflecting that in there, like that. Okay. You can see where it is. I mean, it's real glary. I don't want it looking like that, but The idea is that it just, kind of reflects some of those, like different colors. So see, this is what I did right here. I added those in streaks like this, like that. I've oscillated it so there's some, and then there's this area that doesn't have it so that it can get some of that, reflection. Now it's reflecting different here because this is actually like three-dimensional. There's like ripples on the back of this, paper, due to the wetness of it, dampness of it when. But all right, so let's go in here and I'm going to add in some of this hybrid ink here because I can see how dark it gets like that. So we're going to darken up especially the four corners and really add in a really strong vignette here. So it's real glary. I can't even see it, right in front of my face here because this is all curled up right here. Okay. So this is going to help contain some of these different types of textures and things like that. See how much darker it is like that? I don't know. I don't know how long a foam stamp will last. It just depends. If you're using it with water-based inks, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't last a really long time. We've talked about this. Oh, I should have asked KP while she was on. I should have asked her what types of media would you not use with it, and specifically, would we avoid? I would avoid things that would potentially harden the surface. But they use it with gesso, so I don't know. I wouldn't use, okay, so I wouldn't use solvent inks with it. I don't know. I just don't like the idea of solvent on like foam. So I wouldn't use that. But I would think they would last. I'm guessing they would last as long as someone was using them. Or as long as they would want to, Now, if we have it for 20 years, I don't know. You know what I mean? I have no idea on something like that. I don't know. Does anyone have hot potato stamps? Those were the only kind of foam stamps that I knew. And they were probably a different material. I don't think laser types of cutting for foam was around at that time. I thought those ones were molds. Where this foam is this, I don't know, kind of higher density looking foam. As far as I know, I didn't have any hot potatoes, but I saw them back in the day. I'm trying to think too. I guess there was the foam mounted things. I'm trying to think of if I have any of those mounts still from some of those old sets from back when. Okay, so adding this in, this is the hybrid ink too, so the hybrid ink's a little bit more, it has a lot more pigment, or it has pigment ink in there, so this is staying on the surface a little bit more, or a lot more, than just a straight dye-based ink from the Memories. Okay, so the Memories was probably a good one to go on with first. Just to kind of get things established so you can kind of see where you want to take things if you want to take things a little bit darker in some areas. I'm not sure if this is like completely dry here, so I'm not going to wipe into it. I'll just dab into it, just, in case I want to avoid any type of potential smearing of this. Okay, what was that Pearlex? Okay, so the Pearlex, okay, Candy, was the powder one, was that, Candy, were you referring to the Pearlex Like I said, I forgot what Pearlex. Oh, Pearlex is a powder you mix with water. It's been a while. I remember that. I remember that name, but I just cannot remember anything about it. I have to mix it with a compound of sorts. That would be good if you have that time to bust that out. When you post on, when you take a photograph of it, you might have to take a video of it instead and kind of angle it so you get that little shimmer showing on there. Okay, so Rhonda, yeah, I haven't cleaned my foam off yet because I've just been using it with water-based, inks so far. I just dabbed mine out, or I took a wet paper towel and I just dabbed down on there. It's hard to tell if there's still ink on them because they're black though. So, I don't know how much ink I removed from there. With this hybrid ink, with the hybrid ink, I don't know, I probably should clean it off a little bit more thoroughly just because of that pigment aspect of it. Okay, I don't know. Okay, so adding that down like that. Yeah, that black is looking pretty good in terms of the application of it. One of the things that kind of I wasn't aware of, okay, I mean this feels, reasonably dry to the touch here, but I did apply some of my little highlights on my rocks, okay, like on the tops of the rocks with the acrylic paint pen, but when it dried, my applications with the paint pen were completely invisible. And I have a feeling because I think the surface of this in doing this type of process right here, I think it's still moist underneath or something like that. So it just, I don't know, it diluted the, the more opaque looking application of it. And I think it soaked in or something like that. So it was almost like invisible. So I just reapplied it over a dry piece. And I did this one with the the lighter blue like this right up on top here. And that showed up. You can see those little highlights right in here. So I don't know, you might have to wait for it to dry to do certain types of things. Working like this, it might look a little bit different, the next day too. I did spray seal and it brought out a lot of the different vibrancy and intensities of the media that was added to it. And it just, overall, it improved it a little bit. All right. It didn't change it a huge amount though, like some layered dye-based things can look, when we apply it in mass like this. Sometimes it can really dry dull. I find that the art, like these ones like this, they don't really do that. They can't, in theory, a lot of professional illustrators use them. So you can't have, they can't be going for certain types of looks or something like that, when things have to be really exact, with, I don't know, different Pantone colors and whatever numbers that they're going for, and have something sit around and dry, and then suddenly it doesn't look like what they expected it to be, so these ones, they seem to stay pretty true to the colors that they're representing when freshly applied. All right, but I did apply some Marvy inks, right over the top of this one right here. So that was probably the one that was kind of changing up a little bit. Okay, so I was thinking about this. This has a little bit of purple in it, I think. So I wanted to go for some background trees on here, just using the standard rubber stamp version. So that, we would get some difference between this and I didn't want to do the exact same thing, but just do it in, a larger format here. I wanted to go for a little bit of extra depth in here. So let me see this one right here. Yeah, that one's a little bit. There's some red in this one right here. I don't know if I want to go for that one. Let me see it. Let me see if I have kind of more of a a neutral temperature blue here. Oh, here's one right here. This is a little bit of a grayish blue in the background. I think they sent me the exact same pad here. I think there's turquoise moonstone. Oh, no, this one's called Bright Sky. This one, that one's a little bit, yeah, that one's a little bit of a warm tone. If I added a warm tone in there, I think I would add a little bit of warmth to the background as well. When you're doing background imagery in color, you kind of want to add in a similar tone in the coloring too, just to kind of blend it in. So, all right, let's see. Bright Sky. Let's see how this one is right here. All right. Yeah, not solvents on foam. Yeah, I wouldn't use the solvents on the foam. I would think that it would be prone to maybe damaging or hardening that surface on there. Okay, let me test out this one right here. I'm not sure if this one's going to be dark enough though. Okay, now again, this is the hybrid inks right here, so I'm not sure about it in terms of the value of it, you know, in terms of light and dark. That is really light. That might show up right in here, but oh. Let's go back to this one right here, or not go back to, but let's test this one out. This one is called Aurora Teal. Okay, so teal is going to have a little bit of a greenish tinge in there as well. Let's see. I wash money with soap and water. You have some clean money then. Jeannie runs a money laundering operation, it sounds like. Yeah, I'll add in some stars, I think, on this one. Yeah, decorate. You know, so they used to do foam stamps for things like, you know, like interior walls too. You know, people would stamp things on walls. And I think that was one of the main kind of purposes of some of those stamps from Hot Potatoes. Does anyone remember Hot Potatoes? You know, I used to see them around at. I didn't see them around at stamp conventions for long. You know, a lot of companies that were you'd see at stamp conventions, like maybe in the 80s or something like that. I saw Clear Snap at a convention once or twice at the Carson show. But, you know, a lot of places just got way too busy to, you know, to fiddle around with trade shows, you know, retail trade shows. You get HIA and CHA and that type of thing. But kind of direct-to-consumer shows, you didn't see them around anymore. And I thought that's kind of what happened to Hot Potatoes. Hot Potatoes might have got into, you know, places like Michael's and stuff, for all I know. Okay, so I've removed some of the ink down here and then a lot from down here. And I'm just going to go for it here, okay? We'll see if it stamps out or not. The worst that can happen, you know, if it doesn't stamp out well, is just, you know, you just ruin your card. I'm joking. There's other things you can do, you know, probably. Add in darker trees right over the top of it or something like that. Okay, that's not too bad. There was a little bit of a resist down there, but let's see how this goes. Okay, we'll take this. I don't want these rocks on there for sure. Okay. And I'm just transitioning this a little bit like this. Okay, and I'm going for another one, hopefully out here. I don't know if it's going to show up out here. You know, because I'm going with like a lighter impression, I think. over a darker color, but if we can get a little bit of it in there, that would be good. Yeah, like that. Okay, see this in the background like that. So we'll do some more over here. It just looks a little bit more full. Okay, so you can see kind of the difference between these two like that. All right, so let's go with more of this here. The Aurora Teal came to the rescue. Kind of dab off with a dry paper towel too, okay? So that it doesn't like do a complete removal. You don't want a straight line. You want this kind of transitioning from kind of wet to dry down here. All right. Huh, that's interesting. I got a stronger impression there. Maybe I kept it on the paper a little bit longer for that transfer to occur. See that right there? I haven't been working with these hybrid inks either very much lately. I got into them for a while, and I was saying I need to get back to these again sometime. Deanna from the Facebook group was saying that too. They're really, I'm not coloring with them, but I'm just making my impressions with them. But they have this real kind of, to me, that I don't know, the texture of these inks, they're real kind of creamy. I get maybe that's just, you know, hybrid inks in general because they are pigment inks, okay? Um, but they, I don't know, to me when I'm working with them, I'm thinking of oil pastels, even though I haven't worked with oil pastels before, but they're that kind of thicker, slipperier type of surface on there. It's time for bed, Jeannie. What time is it? 5:44 p.m. here. When I was out in that convention in Arizona, I think I mentioned this on a previous video, but man, I was so tired. It was like I wanted to go to sleep at like 7 p.m. I was falling asleep at like 6:30. You know, the first day after setup because I had to get up like at 4 a.m. that day and drive out there, and we set up and everything like that. I do like the hybrid inks. There's videos where I've used the hybrid inks on to color everything like that. And like I said, they're I don't know they're really it's a different feel using them, um, especially in the coloring process. And I really like building up those colors like that. It's like in between kind of transparency and opacity. So they just feel, and this black right here is a hybrid ink on here too. I've been using the hybrid on here just to get a thicker application going, which I think helps out with the different textures of these papers. And by the time I'm stamping this over this paper, it's pretty rippled and whatnot. So maybe the foam takes care of that in itself, but I don't know. I've been just going with this slightly thicker than, say, dye ink on here. I don't know, just for, I don't know, kind of peace of mind. I don't want to get, all this done in here and then stamp this down on here and have it come out a little bit anemic. I guess the thing is if I'm using, so my black dye-based pad, if I'm doing it on an absorbent foam stamp that's this big, just re-ink your black before you do it. You know what I mean? Just to be safe, I think. So there's enough ink on there. Okay, so that is that in there. So a little bit more depth, like so. And let's go for, it would have been better to do this probably pre-impressions here, but I think let's go for this. There's already kind of this little natural kind of arc right here that just, I didn't plan it out. I just squirted with the bottle there and it looks like this. So I'm going to go with this kind of Milky Way kind of look right here going across this way. All right. In the sky. And then we'll come down here and we'll add in a little bit of foreground and whatnot. Okay, so okay, this is one thing too. I'm thinking I almost need like I need to change my consistency of the or something like that, or go with a thicker paint like a gesso or something like that, or acrylic white or something of that sort. Because I need to get a little bit of a thicker application of stars, larger stars, I think, for these larger pieces. This is almost like too small. I don't know. Or maybe I need to leave more on there. I'm kind of doing this the same way that I've been doing with the smaller cards. I'll try to leave a little bit more on there. It kind of gets me a little bit worried because I just definitely don't want to have any drip on here. So we'll do this. I guess we'll just, here, we'll do this on the side like that. I'm going a little bit closer to my card right here so I can stay within that kind of that Milky Way kind of whatever location like that. Okay, so it's like that. See, we need some larger stars. I got some up there, okay? But in here, maybe there's some large ones in there, but there's less contrast, so you can see it. Okay, so and then these areas out here, and just give it a like a, you know, a lighter spray like that. All right. And then I'll hit some of this down in the water too, you know, it's like a little kind of reflected like um, textures from the sky. I guess you can see it. Okay, I didn't think you'd be able to see it too much, but there we go, like that. And for me, the 0.7 millimeter, I don't know, I'll still use it here, but the 7 millimeter was almost too small too, so I did a lot of my dots with the 3 millimeter paint pen. I didn't need to heat set those hybrid inks at all. They dried pretty fast for me, but I wanted it to be a little bit moist when applying it so that it would blend in with the additional layers that I was adding onto it. I kept one of them. I really need to do those again. You can get some pretty good saturations and some really rich tones with those hybrids. Okay, so here's my 0.7 millimeter. Okay, I think I'm going to keep a lot of these larger dots here that I'm applying here in the Milky Way, in the band, I guess, or whatever you call it, the strip right in here. I mean, you can go a little bit outside of it, but let's emphasize this kind of this structuring right up here. Maybe I'll just use the white, you know, to add in my highlights down there because it's going to kind of mute out anyway. These little white dots that I put in here, a lot of them are going to, if they haven't already, it's like they're already changing kind of more of a, like a blue, I think in some of these areas here. I bet you where I laid down some of that Pearlex or Pearlescent ink, that the areas that I did that, I'm guessing those stars will remain nice and white, but I'm guessing where I'm applying this white over kind of more of the bare paper and the dye-based inks underneath, I'll bet you those are the ones that are turning a little bit more blue because the Pearlex ones are where it's a little bit more sealed off. So I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. I hadn't really thought about it, but the more I think about it, I think that's probably what happened here. Which is a good thing too, you know. I mean, you get if you have lighter dots, darker dots, and lighter ones, some look, further back in the distance and whatnot too. So you get a little bit more depth within your space. Like that. All right, so that's what that's looking like right there. Okay, so if you look really closely at those stars, anyone that has left a message up there, I have put your initials all in dot configuration up there. So there's an LB, a GS, VP. I'm joking, folks, but there's enough space on this 11 by 17 where you can probably do something like that. That'd be a fun thing to do. What you do is, you're giving this card to someone, you can put like Cecile's sending this card to someone. She's got a CG up here, kind of in the larger dots or something like that. Okay, so some highlights down here. Let me see. I'm putting my finger right here. That area right there where I've really built up some of the blacks feels a little bit tacky still, so. All right. Adding in some of these little highlights in here. These are going to be lighter than they're going to look. Like I said, I think. I hope so, because I'm going to add in a little bit more than what I think would be ideal. Okay, so see how illuminated those rocks are right there? Like I said, when my other one, my previous one, when was that from? Was that from yesterday? When that thing dried, it was like, those dots were like completely invisible. They were the same color as, the colors underneath. So this one right here, if that happens, we should still be able to see it a little bit. But then again, like I said, I used more of the pearlescent inks on this one than than I did on that piece yesterday. I was a little bit more conservative with my painting applications right here, kind of added a lot more here. All right, so yeah, so see that right in there. Those are a little bit too light, but again, if they lose like half of that lightness value on there, I'll probably have to go over it again with this anyways. All right, so see there's that shimmer on there. Let's add in some foreground on this. Okay, so... Okay, I don't even know if I've used these foamies yet, but... I'm telling you, when you start, if you get these things, I mean, these 11 by 17s... Okay, so this is normally like this size right here. This isn't the same design, but that's the size of it right there. This one is this size, so this one's about like that much bigger. All right. Oh, here it is right here. So here's this one. So you can use these in conjunction with one another too. But like I said, I don't know. Like this, I mean, something like that could be, you can put it in a frame on a wall or something like that, and switch it out whenever you want. Some people talk about like, like for, like card size pieces, like, hey, you should frame that piece or something like that. But, like a, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch or 4 by 6 inch card frame somewhere. I guess you can be a tabletop frame or something like that, but like a wall framing of it or something like that. The pieces are so small. I don't know how effective something like that would be, but you can do pieces like this. I mean, this piece, I don't know, it didn't seem to take that long to do. I need to check the timestamp on this video right now, but let's see. Okay, so, well, hour and a half. It takes an hour and a half on like some like half-page cards a lot of times. But, you know, this is a big piece right here. You know, I think it'd be pretty cool, you know, to you can throw it in a standard size frame, like a tabloid size frame or something like that, and you can have this, you know, revolving or not revolving, but you know, pieces that you put up on your, you know, wherever periodically. You can switch them out to a new piece, you know, whenever you know, feel like it or whatnot. And it would be, you know, it's a little bit more poster kind of oriented. Okay. Okay. So you can, you guys can't even see this whole thing on here. Here it is right here. You can only see it when I turn it sideways, the full thing. It's kind of weird working with these black stamps like this because I can't, like I said before, it's hard to tell when it's like completely inked up. Okay, let's see. I don't know, hiker and child right here, maybe? All right, I saw the smaller version of this. Where was it? Oh, here's this little fisherman. Night fishing, like that. Down in here. This one's a little bit too big. This foam piece like this. And I added these trees down here. But where did the smaller... Oh. Oh, huh, interesting. I can go for this little canoe guy down here, solo canoeist. That would change the scale of those trees huge if I added such a small little figure like that. Deciding here, I thought I just saw the smaller version of this right here. My desk gets a little bit more cluttered when working with these larger pieces and different media. Oh, I'll find it right after we conclude this video, I'm sure. This broadcast. All right, I don't think I'm going to add this in here. That scale is just... That would make those rocks like really, really huge. Although it would be kind of interesting to add that in there like that. I'd want to do it a little bit more off-center though, like right around here. It's a little bit dark. That area is lighter like that, but I usually have something going into the scene than going out like that. Oh. Maybe enough said on this piece right here. All right, so pearlescent paints in there. Look at those pearlescents in there. I think those look pretty cool. Like that. Those clouds right there. That pearlescent ink right there. I guess it's this one right here. Okay. So I was applying that over this rippled surface like that, okay, which I thought was kind of like something that was kind of something that I'd have to work around, okay? I think that, in terms of the pearlescent ink used on there, I think that worked out great because it made those clouds look like billowy like that, like right in here. So you can't even see them like that, right? But then that pearlescent, or yeah, pearlescent ink in there, like this down here too, to me those look like clouds when it's capturing that light on there. So I think that's the big thing that I learned on this piece. I got more comfortable about adding all those different washes down there too, but that white, I applied it pretty liberally too, you know what I mean? And not only that, kind of haphazardly. I mean, it definitely wasn't strategic, you know, in except for the fact that I don't want to have it everywhere, okay? So you can see where I've tracked it along right here, but I think those clouds look really awesome. All right, so I'm guessing it was more of this one right here than this one. Okay, like a blue pearlescent. So going back to that Pearlex, if you have something like that you can add in there, I don't know, give it a shot. So I added it both in there with the brush and the paper towel. I'm guessing that more kind of billowy look in here was probably the paper towel because I think we can see that more streaky look. You see that right there? That's the brushwork right there. So kind of adding it more, you know, with the paper towel like that. I think that was the thing that did it in there. So, yeah. But I think that looks really pretty amazing with that, like that lighting in there. Let me see if I got it. Okay, so down there I didn't apply as much of it though either. Okay. Oh, I kept it more sky. And here, okay, down below I did more of the kind of the brush work down there. So you can probably still add more of it on there, you know, with the paper towel like that. So let me see something here. Okay, so Linda, you were asking me if I'm going to add in some brilliance clouds. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I want this kind of this cloudy effect, kind of this subsurface cloudy effect that shows up with the angle, you know, or the lighting that's kind of being applied to it, you know. I mean, if this is a large piece, so I don't, you know, said if someone's like got it in a, you know, up on a wall or something like that, it would probably be best if it was kind of displayed in an area that might have a kind of a variation of light hitting it at different times of the day. You know, where you might be able to see some of that. I don't know, maybe. Or something like that. Or maybe if someone's like at a different angle from it, they might be able to see some of those clouds in there. Okay, I don't want to go over it too much right in here because I have like wet ink right here still. Okay, let's see how that did. All right, so let's see. Yeah, can't see it too much. I splotched it right in here, but that kind of illuminates it a little bit more. You know, it'd be cool is to kind of give it more of those, you know, one of those things coming across, like lines coming across like that, like where it's that get that glare. It's usually more if you have like a center of like a moon or something like that up there. Oh, that might be kind of cool is to use one of those like white little spheres or to block it out, not the size, but a smaller one and give it one of those little shimmery pearlescent light reflections going across like that. But yeah. Um, all right, so anyways, here's a really large piece. Here, let me show it to you like this so you can see kind of the piece in its entirety. But this is, and again, if you just joined in here, I cut 1 inch off the length and width of this so that I can mount it on another piece of, you know, white cardstock, you know, which I'll add around on the edges like that. So the big experiment for me, I was really thinking of these trees in the background here and how that would look on this, just to expand on this one right here. But I also wanted to practice with these inks on here again and see what kind of a larger, more freer application of those would look like. And I think it worked out pretty good on top of my my other inks. So you don't need, these are like 3 different tones of art inks like this. I think it certainly opens up some different types of media to us if we want to use these types of things. A lot of times you'll find kind of a wider selection of art-based inks. And like I said, like professional illustrators use these. It used to be the types of inks that comic book production art would be done with. They all used Dr. Martens in their production pieces, for their color guides and whatnot for the printing process. And then you can always mix these things too, so not to kind of open up things completely again, to a whole other thing. We all have our inks and inks that we use with pads and things like that, but it might not be a bad idea. Like, say, if you are looking to expand on your blue tones or something, you know what I mean? Something like that. To not just look at one area of potential media, if you're going to use it in this kind of format, where you're just adding inks to like a sponge and coloring or something like that. These ones don't come with a pad or something like that. No, well, now I think about it, I wonder if these ones could be used in a blank pad. They might be able to, but these ones are going to be thinner though. They're not going to be as thick as, the crafting inks out there. They're going to be a lot thinner. So that's going to be the difference there. So these ones are going to penetrate, cardstock faster too. And that's one of those things that we're used to as well from using our media for years and years and years, is the absorbency speed and the staining factor of dye-based inks or something like that. So you got a little, get a little bit used to it or whatnot. Like I said, I haven't been using these. I tried them once before, but so I don't know if I'm going to, use these more. Like I said, I don't think Luma is even out there, so I don't want to start using a bunch of stuff that people don't have. But this is a big piece of paper right here, and it used a lot of ink, but I don't know. I think that something like this might be, come into play for me a little bit more over time and whatnot. We're kind of working with kind of blingy types of papers and stuff with the printable vinyls and the holographics and stuff like that. Those things are really fun to play around with. And I don't know, if you have this kind of the shimmery surface like that, that you can kind of add to something. It could even be like invisible like that, I guess. But then you have that, and it looks like it's going from night to day like that to me. With those clouds and like in this area right here and on the horizon like that. It looks like it goes like to, I don't know, just a different time of day. And that's one of those things I really like about the holographics, is that the different angles that you show them at, it like changes the entire look of a piece. So if we can add something into a piece that doesn't like detract from kind of the main look of it like that, and you can get kind of this bonus thing like that, in there, that's kind of good, I think, and that's, just adding something like this. Now, if I can just kind of get it to where I can do it kind of purposefully, that would be really good. So I don't know how I get that, how you get that again. I guess you just kind of wipe it down there and dab it around or something like that. Maybe get, I'll get the hang of it. But see, like I said, the only thing that I was doing in here was kind of going in here, bringing it down here, and then bring it down here again. And then I kind of wiped in there a little bit. But like I said, this one was rippled, so I don't know, maybe it wouldn't come out as good if it was on a, like a nice flat piece of paper, because I wouldn't have those nice billowy clouds in there, which I had no idea, that would happen with the application of that. But look at that right in there. So you almost get like a little bit of a different, like a, not holographic, but I don't know, kind of some sort of look just from using a white piece of paper like that, but adding in your own kind of metallics to it, like that. Yeah, the sky looks better than the water. All right, folks, thanks so much for joining in. checking out this experiment here. We went pretty big with the last couple of videos here. I was thinking I'm probably going to, in my next like couple videos or something like that, it's probably going to be a bunch of like inchies or something like that. If you guys know what that refers to, the 1" by 1" little stamping surfaces that everyone's doing for a while. Not everyone, but a lot of people, those things got really popular in there. So I don't know, when I go like really huge like this, sometimes I go, or I don't know, sometimes in these videos I kind of go in the opposite direction, you know, instead of super dark and big, it's going to be like tiny and light or something like that, you know, just to kind of balance things off a little bit. So yes, thanks so much for joining in here. I'm not a painter, Linda, but thank you. Have a good time at the concert, Jeannie. Don't fall asleep there. Kevin, you could paint with a toothpick. No, I don't think so. But thanks so much. Bust out those Pearlex and let us know how that's working, Linda. And I can't wait to see your Christmas map too. Yeah, but large pieces like this, I don't know. They're no longer quite as daunting of a notion at all, I guess. The one thing that I have to get kind of more familiarized with is my brush work and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm playing around with that more. I gotta use that Pearlex more too, I think, on just regular smaller sizes like that too. Maybe going with a dry brush type of approach with something like this too. Maybe on a cotton ball, right? For some of those clouds. If you ever got, okay, so if anyone ever does this right here, when you start applying it down there, you know, you're not going to see the thing. It's just that you have to kind of hold it up at an angle to see what you're getting, I think, especially if you're applying it over kind of a darker kind of objects in the background like that. I think something like this would be really cool in a sunset setting too. Can you imagine something like that with, you know, those warm tones kind of shining through some of that white up there? I think that would be kind of interesting. So, yeah. And these types of things come in all kinds of different colors too. I think there was a golden one too, and kind of a rose colored one as well. I'm not going to get those, you know, but I don't know. It seems like a good potential in there somewhere. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Have a great rest of evening or time of day, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. And hopefully we'll see you on the next live stream.